we're really digging into a fascinating success story. It's about taking a very specific hands-on craft and building it into, well, a whole commercial and cultural brand. We've got a stack of sources here detailing the journey of Like Mike.
Yeah, and our mission today is pretty clear.
Yeah.
Let's pull apart the blueprint. How did he do it? We're looking at how that, deep craft, that real discipline in quality control and rolling, how that connects with smart content and sharp business moves.
Yeah.
Especially in a niche that's, let's be honest, super competitive.
Right. And for you listening, the real takeaway here is seeing how these foundational skills, like the sources mentioned, skater discipline, delivery hustle, how those actually translate into real brand authority. We're basically mapping out what the sources point to as his formula: craft plus content plus commerce.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. The foundation. His roots.
Yeah, the personal story. Born on Guam, but raised in Roseville, California. He calls it back when malls were still farmland, which gives you a sense of the time. And his entry into this world, it started young, age 12. First smoke, hot boxed in a cousin's garage, apparently with Snoop Dogg on the stereo.
And what's really interesting there from the sources is how his high school years kind of set up this duality. It was split between skate parks and getting suspended. Skating wasn't just messing around. It gave him style, discipline, that repetition, right? And weed, well, they gave him purpose. This mix is pretty crucial for what comes later.
Okay, so after high school, he gets into what looks like a sort of farm apprenticeship. He's up in Grass Valley, working with this guy, George, making 20 bucks an hour, learning the real basics of cultivation.
And not just planting seeds. He was learning about outdoor 99s, light depth techniques, getting into organic pest management IPM using things like frogs and ladybugs. Real hands-on stuff. Making bubble hash, this deep understanding of the plant from the ground up. That's the seed for his later QC obsession.
And that knowledge immediately turns into, well, his first hustle, right? It wasn't some big fancy launch.
No, not at all. It was pure grind. He took what he learned and started rolling shake joints, using the trim, the less than perfect stuff. He'd hit the Sacramento vendor days, roll them up, and pitch directly to shops like All About Wellness. So right away, craft meets commerce, taking a skill, packaging it, making it marketable.
Okay, so from the farm to the vendor days, then comes the next big step, the delivery hustle in 2017. He links up with Fiori Delivery, working with Alex, and they start scaling up a Weedmaps shop pretty significantly.
Yeah, this is where the business side really takes off. The sources call it a COVID-era juggernaut. They were using smart logistics, things like on-fleet for managing drivers, a lot of family involved, moving millions in product. This part's really important because it shows he could execute on logistics, not just roll a nice joint, moving volume reliably.
But hang on, the sources say this phase ended because taxes and compliance iced the lane. Doesn't that kind of poke a hole in the blueprint for success idea? Sounds like they hit a wall. Hard.
That's a really fair point. And I think the sources frame it less as a personal failure and more as a brutal lesson in scaling in this industry. Compliance in cannabis, especially when you're moving fast, it's incredibly volatile. Tax burdens are huge. So icing the lane, yeah, it means they hit that wall. But the key isn't that they hit it, it's that they scaled to millions first, learned those logistical lessons, and then managed an exit instead of just crashing.
Ah, okay, so the success part was navigating that extreme volatility and learning from it, even if it meant pivoting.
Exactly. That whole experience managing huge cash flow, dealing with routing, drivers, the regulatory nightmare, that's what gave him the chops for the next move, which was jumping into, the big leagues at Preferred Gardens, running sales, QC, content, working alongside Dave, Alex, the whole team. His past wasn't a failure. It was his resume. It gave him credibility across the board.
Okay, let's zero in on that QC part at Preferred, the Indoor Plus mantra. What exactly does that mean in practice? It sounds like trying to make good weed out of maybe less than premium setups.
That's pretty much it. Mixed light uses greenhouses, right? Some sun, some artificial light. It's usually cheaper, but consistency can be an issue. Indoor Plus is their commitment, their standard. Take that mixed light flower and make it smoke like top shelf indoor. It demands way stricter quality control.
So what does that QC actually involve? You mentioned it gets surgical.
Oh, yeah. They use a specific QC sheet. It's not just, is it good? It breaks down into 3 key things.
Yeah.
Knows the smell, the terps, flavor, how it tastes, does it last, and finishability. Finishability is crucial. How does it burn? White ash. Does it run? Or canoe? Does it stay lit? Only the stuff that nails all 3, the jug-worthy cuts, as they call them, makes it through. That Wigger is the brand.
Okay, and tied into that is the actual rolling. This wasn't an overnight thing either. It evolved from like zigzag teens to what the sources call the Organotips-era. He studied the masters, right?
Absolutely. He looked at guys like Real Roll Christian, Proper Doinks, Bruno, Lemonade Blaine, learned from the best. And this leads to what I think is the absolute pivot point in his story, according to these sources. The Exhale Lounge flop.
The flop. Tell me more. Sounds dramatic.
It was. He was basically put on the spot to roll a hash hole that's a joint with rosin or hash in the middle. Tricky stuff. And he failed. Publicly. Bricked it, as they say.
Wow. Okay. That's relatable, though. Public failure. How did he bounce back from that?
That's the critical part. He owned the L, didn't hide, didn't make excuses. Instead, he went back, analyzed what went wrong, the hash-to-flour ratios, the technique, fixed it, and just kept going. Never folded. That moment of failure and how he responded, that's like pure professional discipline in action. Skater falls, gets back up, nails the trick. Same idea.
And that refinement led to his current toolkit, which sounds pretty specific.
Very specific. He's strategic. Organotips wood filters for production rolling, they're sturdy. But for flavor, he'll use rip tips or glass tips. He uses specialized tools, too, like alien tech packers, even his own like mic trays. The whole goal is technical perfection. Joints built for oil rings and burn audits. They have to burn perfectly. That's the signature.
With all this focus on complex rolls like hash holes, what's his final word on them? Are they the be-all and end-all?
Nope. And this is key to their brand integrity. His core belief, the sources say, is flour always comes first. Hash holes. Yeah, they can be amazing, but they're overrated unless perfect. You got to nail the fundamentals, the flour quality, the basic roll before the fancy stuff matters. That keeps the standard high.
Okay, so that craft mastery, validated by failure and refinement, then fuels the content side of things. Let's talk about the Proper Rollers League he co-hosts with Lemonade Blaine.
Right, the league. This is brilliant strategy. It turns rolling into a spectator sport. You've got rollers competing head-to-head, flour duels, hash hole battles, different roll-offs. There are rankings, P4P, pound for pound, and real money, like a $10 K prize bracket.
So how does hosting this help Preferred Gardens brand?
It puts Mike right at the center as the authority. It showcases everything. His sharp QCI, judging the rolls, his own craft skills are implicitly there, and his personality, his Mike energy. It's not just some guy talking. He's setting the standard, judging the best. That makes him, and by extension Preferred Gardens, the benchmark for quality in this whole space. It's validation through content.
And that authority, built on craft and amplified by content, is now driving their expansion, the eastward motion.
Exactly. You see the brand moving physically now, from the Sacramento roots, the delivery days, now pushing into markets like Florida, Pennsylvania, New York. Showing up in NY bodegas, apparently.
Yeah.
And it's Mike's reputation, his joints, his charisma, backed by that undeniable quality standard that's opening those doors.
So it all ties together. The hustle taught logistics, the failure forced refinement, the content sold the expertise.
That's the synthesis the sources present. Like Mike equal, craft plus content plus commerce. And underpinning it all are those early lessons. Skater discipline, that relentless practice and delivery hustle, knowing how to move product efficiently. And his final message sort of sums it up. Be yourself. Everyone else is taken. Authenticity is the channel for the expertise.
Well, that's a really comprehensive look at how this specific kind of empire gets built, from regional roots and mastering a manual skill right through to national expansion.
And critically, showing that expertise needs public proof like the league. And it has to be backed by those non-negotiable QC standards we talked about.
Yeah.
Nose, flavor, finishability.
Okay, so let's leave you, the listener, with a final thought on this. We heard about Mike's Exhale Lounge flop, bricking that hash hole. It was public, maybe humiliating, but it was necessary. It forced him to refine his ratios, perfect his craft, and ultimately expand his professional reach. So the question for you is, what professional L, what failure or setback are you currently owning, analyzing, and maybe, just maybe, refining right now to fuel your next big step? Something to think about.
Definitely. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.